Essentially, you want to make sure that you're breeding the cow on the correct day. Having learned about the estrus cycle, and we know that every 21 days she's going to go through her estrus period. We want to make sure that we're able to differentiate between the primary signs of heat and the secondary signs of heat, and so that we breed that cow on the correct day. We have to always remember that the only primary heat sign, and that's the one that indicates that cow is ready to be bred, is standing heat. Okay, everything else is considered secondary heat. We want to make sure that the cow or heifer that stands to be mounted by another cow or heifer. Okay, the cow is most fertile 4 to 16 hours after the onset of standing heat. Most standing heats occur in that time between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Why? It's quiet, it's cooler, cows are more active during those late evening hours. The best window of opportunity for breeding can only be established when we know the onset of standing heat, and this is where it becomes a little bit difficult. There is technology to help us with that. Okay. Secondary heat signs include things like alert, restless behavior, fence walking, friendly towards the people that are observing her, reduced feeding time, aggressive behavior towards other cows, the swollen reddened vulva, the mucus discharge, and the mucus discharge is also indicative of her stage of her estrus as well. Very thin and watery during pro-estrus, and that's the period of time leading up to the standing events. And then it becomes more cohesive and slightly cloudy post-estrus. Okay? Some cows will hold milk when they're in heat. Some cows will have increased urination when they're in heat. Cows that are in pro-estrus will mount other cows. They will headbutt other cows. They will chin press other cows. They will sniff and lick other cows' vulvas, curl their lips almost like a bull does, things like that. Ovulation occurs 28 to 30 hours after the onset of standing heat. So most of the secondary heat signs that I just mentioned are associated with pro-estrus, that period of time leading up to the standing events. And that can begin up to 24 hours before the onset of standing heat. Many animals are bred during this period of time when we're still in pro-estrus, and this results in often quick repeats and lower conceptions. We have to remember that standing heat can be as short as 3 or 4 hours or as long as 10 hours. We have to remember that sperm cells are viable for 20 to 30 hours in the reproductive tract. After ovulation, the egg is viable in the oviduct for 8 to 12 hours. It takes about 6 hours for the sperm to travel to the oviduct and undergo capacitation, which is a chemical change in the head of the sperm cell that allows it to penetrate the egg. So considering these things, the AM/PM rule of thumb is still very important today. So essentially, cows that you notice in standing heat in the AM should be bred sometime later that day. Cows that you notice in heat in the afternoon should be bred sometime the next morning. Always make note if you see post-heat blood, 1 to 4 days following heat. It's a good thing to see, as it verifies that the animal has been through a heat and ovulation has occurred. Ovulation occurs 28 to 30 hours after the onset of standing heat. First and foremost, steps to improve heat detection. The most important one is make it a priority. Assign the responsibility to one person, but it's a good idea to train all staff in observation skills. For visual heat detection, 2 to 3 times per day is for 20 to 30 minutes a time is time well spent. Think about the cows. Think about good footing under the cows. Think about good foot health of those cows. Are those cows being tended to by the hoof trimmer on a regular basis? Are they going through the foot bath on a regular basis? Things like that. Try not to combine visual heat detection with too many other jobs. Feeding or milking times are perhaps not the best to watch for heats. Late evening and early morning, again, those cows are most active. Proper nutrition during the dry period and the transition period is very important. Proper ventilation is important. Heat stress does suppress heat signs. Cows do start to feel the effects of heat stress when we get above temperatures of 22 degrees Celsius. Moving animals to stimulate activity is also effective. Add some new cows or heifers to a group will sometimes stimulate some activity that is being suppressed. Regular herd health visits by your veterinarian to find open cows and reduce days open. Keep good records on heats. Essentially mark down and record heats either in software or calendars so that you can pinpoint the proper days. Select a synchronization program to add flexibility. And most importantly, invest in an activity monitoring system to eliminate the guesswork around the timing of insemination. Pregnant cows ensure rapid return investment on these systems.